Hello and welcome to Wow Mom. This is Ellen Mongan, and I'm glad that you came today. I was using a little old-fashioned timer, but unfortunately it ticks. It sounds like nowadays we don't want anything ticking on our show, so I'm gonna turn it off. It's gonna ring, and we're gonna turn it to. I don't even know what to do with it, guys. This is how old-fashioned I am. So I'll put that there and set it aside. Someone keep the time. So welcome to our show, Ellen Mongan again from Wow Mom, and today I'm wearing my fur because we're gonna talk a little bit about Emily, and Jan's going to introduce her, my co-host Jane Ann. And we are talking about how mother is not that glamorous. We don't have a fur on our shoulders, and we don't have a crown on our head. But we're forming the next generation. And Emily has found a way to form them in Christ, as I take off my crown, in such a way that she brings Jesus into their everyday life. She's written books, and she's been on Catholic Mom. She's a contributor. She's done book tours and all kinds of things. We're really excited to see her again. We had her on the show one time before with June Council and I, and now Jane Ann, would you welcome to the show, Jan, co-host, and would you introduce Emily?
Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, I'd like to introduce Emily, and let me try to pronounce your last name. Is it Jaminet?
Yes, Jaminet.
Okay, good. It's a beautiful name. And her and her husband have 7 children, and Emily is the executive director of Sacred Heart Enthronement Network. WelcomeIsHeart.com shares a mother's moment, a daily radio reflection, a podcast host and host radio personality. She is the co-author of Divine Mercy for Moms, sharing the lessons of Saint Faustina and the Friendship Project, Pray Fully, Our Friend Faustina, and her most recent book, Secrets of the Sacred Heart. You can read more of Emily's work at emilyjaminet.com or inspirethefaith.com. And I think, Ellen, you want to show her books? I have this one right here.
I have, and I have this one as well. So you probably have too. Yeah. I really have enjoyed all the books. I buy them all, Emily. So thank you so much for what you share in Christ. So, Emily, tell us a little about yourself.
Wow. I mean, when you get an introduction like that, thank you. The thing is about motherhood is you don't get an introduction like that. Like you said initially, it's usually day in, day out, a very similar routine, and life as a mom is lived in the ordinary. And for me, that was pretty much my journey until my 39th birthday. I was turning 40, and I just felt an inner calling to promote the faith, to really inspire other people, and to give back. And that's where all of this began about 6 years ago. Wow. So I live in Columbus, Ohio. Like you said, I have 7 children ranging 21 to 5. And there's just a heck of a lot going on in my house all the time. But I realized that I need faith so badly. I need, my Catholic faith is meant to be a stabilizer. And that's what I am very excited about. Each writing project resembles a little piece of what's important in this parenting journey. And the last book I wrote, Secrets of the Sacred Heart, was just really a great opportunity. I felt like Catholic moms especially needed to know about this devotion and see how relevant it was in their life. So I'm just an ordinary mom. I just do some pretty cool things. And as you know, it's just one day at a time, sweet Jesus, around here.
What do you think, Jenny? What do you think? One day at a time. Some days are better than others.
I went on there and I read some of your articles, and I loved the one, I guess, I don't know which, the article you had on Allow the Sacred Heart to Transform Your Heart and Home. I loved your ideas on that. And then I really liked it because, I'm like you, a lot of things going on with a lot of kids. We have 11 children, but some live, I have one married, we have a grandchild, but I understand the hecticness, and I loved what you had to say when you were just asking the questions. And the one question I really liked is like, ask your children or ask your, the people in your family, like, what can we do to make this a more loving home? What are some things we can do? And I thought that really struck out at me because I'm thinking, I don't think I've really ever asked that. I mean, we try to promote, different things, especially during Lent and our traditions, but I really like that. And then I also liked your ideas for living Lent. So if you don't mind, I'm going to give a couple of these because I think
sure, great
ideas because we're at the beginning of Lent. These are what spoke to me. Make your calendar one of prayer where you write down family and friends, and then pray with your spouse daily. I like that one. So that's really good because when we get so hectic and doing things, usually sometimes you just fall in bed and you just go immediately to sleep because you just got so much going on. Unplug, which I really like that too. Declutter, and then Friendship Fridays. I love that because I think with busy moms, you really, I homeschool, so I'm home a lot besides outdoor basketball. So I'm sure you can, I can tell your heart, and I related with those.
Well, you know what? These are all tried and true things. I have come to realize that, for example, with making your home more loving, like, we sat down and had a family meeting. And so when I asked the kids the questions, a lot of it is we realized we kind of forgot the importance of manners. And any big family that
That's
has
so
been
true.
parenting a long time, we forgot those please and thank yous for the little things. And, so that's one of the things we're working on is having better days, having those please and thank yous, seeing that your neighbor is the person on the other side of your wall that you can, how I heard the two kids this morning, hollering up the stairs, it's my turn for the bathroom, I got to get to school. And I was like, hold on, remember, let's use our manners, because this is where you learn lessons for the rest of your life, especially in the home. And as you mentioned, with 11 children, I have 7, like, you want them to realize that this needs to be the most loving environment they've had. And it lays that foundation for the rest of their life.
Yes.
And then I just think we can't, but yet we can't realize that we can't give what we don't have. So when we rely on Jesus's love to penetrate our heart, to give us that, to fill us up, then we can go forth and spread that love. So it's a lot of trial and error over here, but like sometimes you got to go back to the basics, like please and thank yous.
Love it. I love it because that's so good.
So
As moms, we tend to, and I like you talked about, you had one article on there. It was so cute. It was like, get your ducks in a row for Jesus. I was like, I love that.
I was thinking more when I woke up about the virgins in oil. It seems silly to wake up thinking about, because I kept saying, Lord, what do you want on the show? But, we're filling our children with oil. You as a mom, one day they're going to meet Jesus. They can't bank on what you have. They got to know Christ themselves. And so you're filling them up with oil. Now they're going to meet children that are the ones without the oil. And hopefully they'll be the good example to those people. That's why I love so much the book, even this little one, Divine Mercy for Moms, because there's ways in everyday life that we can be Christ to others and to bring the mercy of Christ and his love and his grace. So what do you think about can you tell some funny stories or some good stories about being St. Faustina to others, being her example to the world?
You know what, this is so much fun to be able to talk about each aspect of our faith, these different books. I think about when we wrote Our Friend Faustina, or Divine Mercy for Moms, similar book, both on Divine Mercy. I think about how I was really struggling with that manners, like, Mom, I need a drink of water. Mom, I need you to wash my uniform. Mom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it can feel like a lot, and then you want to serve other people and you want to serve your husband. And so that book helped remind me that I get to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and that the works of mercy actually have value, not just, and it's funny because when I wrote that, I wasn't doing ministry work. That was the first book that we wrote. But what I realized is there was such an opportunity to serve inside the home and then outside the home when necessary. So, I have a blanket in my trunk because I know sometime someone's going to need that blanket. We're done using it, but we have a lot of people that are a lot of homeless people in our community, or such as having a case of water in your trunk to be able to offer water to someone. Even it might just be a friend at a sporting event, but just little gestures of mercy and knowing that it's for the right intention to be Christ to others. So that was a fun book. The Divine Mercy for Moms. I think all moms, we're always on the edge of a little bit of burnout, and that book reminds you that it's not you giving that drink of water, but you get to be Christ to your children who might be saying your name all night long and all day.
Jay has a solution for burnout. Jay, tell about your weekend. Burnout.
Burnout.
What to do? Every mom, what's a month?
I've never. Yeah, our daughter treated us to a spa day. So anyway, that was wonderful. And Ellen always is saying, for moms, and this is true, because you just tend to go. I mean, you just keep going, and it is God's grace. It's his mercy and it's his strength. The joy of the Lord is our strength. So you just keep going. But really, after I just had, it was one day, really 2 days with two of well, three of our daughters. It was really like, I felt like when I came back, my brain was like working normal.
Healthy burnout. Healthy burnout.
I was like,
I mean, this is a silly question. It's not even on the sheet, but I don't know, since you got on, I'm so interested because we had one time we had Sterling on. Now, Sterling is a ton of fun. She's hilarious. And she told the story about how she met her husband. Do you remember, Jan? You said we got to ask her.
oh yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah,
was
yeah.
funny, you know, usually it's
On the
funny.
date night, it was hilarious.
But we're not going to tell you about what she said. But tell us how you met your husband. Because you know, when we raise a family, especially a tribe of 7 children, 11, and I have 8, but one's in heaven. We have to be a team. And if we're in ministry, we have to really be a team. Pat and I are both in full-time ministry. We have to pull together in the same direction, but then be willing to do our own ministries as well. But I know he's on the team. So
he's on the team. Actually, it's interesting you say that because on my Instagram, I put a post on Valentine's Day with a picture of our wedding picture. And I wrote like 10 tips on marriage and on relationships. And it has been the most liked post. Like people keep finding it. And it's like, you know, they want to know. So what you think is very ordinary, such as, you know, marriage for 23 years, you realize a lot of people are, you know, we get to be a little window to Catholic marriage. So John and I met back in college. He actually was visiting his sister, who was my RA, and we met at a party at Franciscan University of Steubenville off campus. And he ended up having an internship that summer close to my house. But what's funny was he's very shy, and he wrote me this letter like, "Dear Emily, I met you last semester. You seem very nice. Would you like to go on a date?" It was like a letter. And I'm like, I don't know who this boy is. I'm all the time. So I actually had my little brother call him so I could listen on the other line. Remember when phones, you know, I don't know who this is. And finally I had to confess, like, I'd like to go on a date, but I really don't know who you are. And then because I'm that nice person. And he's like, "My sister's your RA and you seemed really interested when I met you twice." And I'm like, "Oh, that nice boy." So we actually have these old letters when we went back and forth. And then it was really sweet. Cute. And then I actually did a study abroad the following at the end of that.
Oh, where'd you go, Emily? I
went to Austria through a Franciscan study abroad program for 3 months. And we wrote letters like old fashioned. And it was pretty cool because we have all the letters. We weren't, that serious. We were just dating, but it's
so sweet. Do you have letters from JR? JR, I have one.
Gosh, no. I just got cards.
You love letters. I'm a letter writer. You have cards. That's sweet. That's sweet. We are also different, don't you think? And then that won your heart because he was, he's a human bill. You can't go wrong for one thing. I mean, hopefully you can't go wrong there. And thank you for sharing that. And he embraces all you do, I'm sure. And
he does.
We just
go on. I would say real quick, I pulled him because as you read my bio, I'm involved in a lot of ministry work. We had a beautiful Women's Day reflection this past weekend. And I see like go, go, go. And we actually mentor married, engaged couples together. So that's the one thing
that's good
that we do as a give back together. Because I realize it's one thing to have a very ministry minded heart, but it's another thing, hopefully, to pull in your husband where their strengths are. And he's quiet, but he can sure mentor a young man into how to be a good Catholic husband. And, he can talk about the finances and some of the things that I forget to even mention. So we make a good team when it comes to mentoring.
I think you're ahead of the game, Emily, because Pat and I are retired. We're like empty nesters, and it took us a long time to be empty. It was going to take you longer. I mean, by the time we were empty, we were older. And so we just now in our older age, we are trying to get to know each other as who we are. When you're dating, then you have babies, and we're trying to do something. Has this thing, some things together, some things apart. So we do many things apart because Pat's a deacon, but we do some things together. And ours is also our strength is marriage. We also do podcasts together, Deacon and Dear. It's gonna be later today. Y'all check it out. My guy is, you wouldn't know he was introverted or shyer because he's a deacon and he was a physician. You wouldn't know, but Jada's husband's outgoing. He's kind of the extrovert, right? More the extrovert, your guy.
Oh, yes. No filter.
Well, that's good. Emily, do you have a question to ask Emily, Jan?
Yes, I do. So what is it that you can talk to moms about? Because I know this is what I find sometimes when I'm still in this. So what could you say, and you're still there, but you do have, outside ministry, is like, well, what can moms do for like the mundane? You know, like
I
they
like
got the same
really
thing day,
reinforce that.
especially like with homeschool moms, especially right now during this whole situation. You know, you got the same thing day in, day out. And sometimes you just kind of get, I know I do this often. It's like, you know, I kind of get lost, like, okay, so Lord, you know, I know that I'm serving my family and my husband, but like who am I in Christ, you know, outside of mom and wife, and you know, so what could you say to moms like, you know, that have that going on?
Well, I think first of all, you never know how the Lord's going to use you in the future. So, like any good soldier, you're always, you're always ready to be called up. I think that's a good example for me, just going from those 8 years of homeschooling, I completely can relate to what you're saying. And then I just felt like, no, the Lord needs me to do something in a new direction. So I put the children in school and I spent an entire year in prayer, discernment, learning like, what do you want me to do, Lord, in the future? So if you kind of always have that in the back of your mind that the Lord might use you for, inside the home and outside the home, it keeps you a little bit more, it feels less mundane, if that makes sense. I also
Yes.
love Saint Zelly, read some of those great Catholic mom, I read a lot of her letters, like to see that we all kind of struggle in that. But what is wonderful is to say, no matter what, if your job is inside the home, with your young children or your older children homeschooling or outside the home, that you keep the structure of the home, the rhythms of your home. So for me, I used to be like the last one to wake up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, who made breakfast? Okay.
I know.
I was always behind, So about 2 years ago, actually, when I wanted to start writing books, my husband, you can't just be like sitting there like it's book writing time and all these kids running
Oh
around.
yeah, right.
And I was like, it's Saturday, we got to do the laundry, So I started doing a lot of my writing and like the things that were for me in the morning. So I tell Jesus, this is my tip of the day. I say, Jesus, I need the 2-for-1 deal. So for every 1 hour sleep, bless me like it was 2 hours. And
Oh,
you read a lot of the
Oh go.
saints who don't need a lot of sleep. Like I realized that sleep was something that I was thinking about all the time. I want more than I needed, and so I just creeped my schedule backwards from my morning.
that's
And
right.
then as a result, I was tired. I'd go to bed. I wouldn't watch TV in the evening. I had better mornings. And so I would definitely say, carve out time for you in the morning, get your prayer in, get your exercise, get yourself even, ready for the day before even the children wake up. And I think guarantee that you will have a new outlook. Like for a lot of the women working outside of the home, that's a rhythm that can really help you be on the right foot. They have to be that way. So it's kind of challenged me, and I'm glad I've incorporated that.
Yeah, I think it's good wisdom, Jane. I don't want to, we have a low, when we're on this thing, we try to keep it close to the time, but I don't want to forget about the main thing, which is this book right here. This is a really wealth of knowledge right now for the time today. This is the word for the day because really, Emily was blessed a lot of people by a Catholic mom doing the book study. I don't know if they could still get that, if they could still see the reruns or whatever they do but that's really what she's working on now, along with the books, the speaking, and then we'll let you share how you can get a hold of you. But tell a little bit about this because I think it's an old Catholic tradition now. There's something I might say right there over my prayer bench that Jan gave me, and I put it in her Bible so I can look at Jesus when I'm praying. But it's an old tradition. It's nothing new, but she puts it in such a way that you kind of want to have that in your home as well. Can you share a little bit about it?
Sure. Secrets of the Sacred Heart. It's called 12 Ways to Claim Jesus's Promises in Your Life. And I think the best place to start is the word claim, right? The goal is that Jesus is offering you his most perfect, merciful, loving heart every single second of the day. It's our response to his heart that matters. And, that's rooted in St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, who had these visions in the 1670s, who saw Jesus's glorious heart at times. Other times the heart was wounded. And, we have that opportunity to say, what is our response to his heart? And he said in the visions that basically, look at this heart that loves so much, But in return, what's in return? There's a lot of coldness, indifference, lukewarm. And I think that that's a great place to start with this book and kind of this devotion. Like, this devotion is about having a softer heart, a more loving heart, a more heart like Christ. And especially in this Lenten journey, we can do all the good works of the world, but if our heart is hard and our heart is broken, we're doing it in the wrong spirit. And I think as Catholic moms, when we started this Lent out in the book of Joel, render your hearts. I just can't say enough about what this devotion has done in my personal life, in the lives of others. I can see the miracles that have taken place when they put Jesus as in their home and enthronement as King, Savior, and friend, when they welcomed him as, protector, provider, and said like, okay, Jesus, I give it all to you. Especially through the devotion of the Sacred Heart, you can just like let your shoulders down and you can be like, okay, this little squirrely kid, like he's yours,
That's right.
I can't parent this. So it's been really transformative. I talked a little bit, and I was telling Ellen that I was blessed with some really amazing relatives. We actually called them the greats when they were alive, and they were amazing because they were joyful. They were exceptionally ordinary in the sense of they worked ordinary jobs. They were just humble people, but their faith was extraordinary. Their devotion, their trust, their joy. And as a result, I thought everybody had grandparents that would just sit around praying the rosary and, loving on you with Jimmy cakes and, just the sweetness of it. But it really came from this devotion to the Sacred Heart. And I want to offer that to all Catholic families as a place to begin the renewal within the home. It's a reign of love. It's a kingdom of love. And the kingdom needs to begin in our hearts and in our homes and extend out into our community.
And then Emily, you have a role in this, I know I can't say what it is exactly right now, but you have a role in this Sacred Heart enthronement. Do you want to share how they can get a picture? And
Sure. So really it started with my parents began promoting enthronement. So my grandfather made plaques and images, and he actually did this in his basement. He sent them to Mother Teresa's order in Calcutta, in Albania, and he serviced these homes of the sick and the dying with a beautiful image. And, he passed on, but one of the things we have is this beautiful letter from Mother Teresa thanking him for the service he did, thanking the service of the men of Cincinnati for what they did. And it was very inspiring. My parents, were very worldly, did not have an interest in what Grandpa was doing. And they went through a conversion themselves in the 80s. Wow. And they started understanding, even after my grandfather died, like how beautiful this is and how important devotions are. And they promoted enthronement. So enthronement is the simple term of placing Jesus as, on a throne in your home, placing the image in a predominant place, recognizing him as a king in your home, a savior, friend, brother to all. So enthronement is kind of a difficult word in American culture, but that's one reason why we made our website Welcome His Heart, because that might be a little bit easier for people to understand the goal of welcoming his heart of love into your home. And I just really stepped into this role because I wanted to take that out of Columbus, Ohio, and make this a national movement where we can transform Catholic homes, not just here in the United States, but all around the world. So that's one of my little side projects that I work on.
After all this we've said, Jan, do you want me to ask you the question that we've been saying in our own mind? How do you keep the balance? That's what Jan, we have a lot of things going, both of us. And then the balance, we're going to talk about that in the next show, but how do you keep the balance in your life? I know you said about including your husband and then the children, but how do you keep a balance? Do you ever feel like you're going juggling balls and one's on the ground?
I think you're right. And I think the word is, what are you willing to sacrifice? And I think that's something that a lot of times we don't talk about. We do sacrifice something for something else. Okay. So always discussing, what are we sacrificing? How can I outsource? How can I collaborate with other people? A lot of times, Jan, you mentioned, like as you know, carpooling or, getting, you get in with one mom, you carpool with one other parent, you might have just created an hour of your time.
That's
And
right.
the balance for me, people don't really like when I say it, but I literally say, I do not watch any television, like cutting television out of my life, that like just form of entertainment. And I do social media for ministries. I consult, I help, but I try to make sure that I don't get sucked into forms of entertainment that I just don't have time for. They might be good, but it's just, I'm really careful with my time. And at 3 o'clock, I put things down, kids walk in the door and they get my eyes, they get my eyes, they get my attention, they get, how was your day? How can I help you? Because we do need to turn off our good works to make sure that we are balancing what we do outside the home and then back in the home.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Good, that's good. I think it's always a constant balance, just constant. It's constant, like even new seasons of your life, like we're grandparents of 14 and we just moved back to almost all of them live in this town in our neighborhood. So we're balancing now to try to include, Pat and I were used to being alone with just our ministries and praying and reading, and you know how that is. And then we go, okay, now we got to include people. And I love people. So we're happy to be back, but it's always a constant, don't you think when you added a grandbaby, Jen, it's always a constant balance of like going, okay, there's things to do, but I got to pay attention to the people too.
Right. And I like what she said, that, it was, I think you were talking about how you basically just kind of on the same journey, but took a different, like you were homeschooling and then you felt like, then you felt like, you were called to, you spent a year in prayer. And I've done the same thing where I've homeschooled, and then I like taught at a Catholic school, and then I had 7 kids in the Catholic school. I think we had this discussion with Rachel Balducci. So I think too, knowing, I think also I wrote down something else, and I think this was on the website for the Sacred Heart, the enthronement. And it says, and this struck me too, because I really like this one, because I feel like I'm in a transitionary period right now, kind of like what you went through for a year. I'm in a discernment for the following school year. So it said, Christ desires to reveal us his will, and by accepting it, we put ourselves in a position to better understand what is best for our families. Mm-hmm. And then you went on with some practical tips, and I really like that. Really spoke to me too, because I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in that transitionary, like trying to discern. Okay. And it might be that I'm scared. I mean, I have faith, but I'm like, okay, is that you, Lord? Is that what you're telling me to do? So,
well, and I also changed my perspective personally, where I said, I'm not going to let fear make my decisions for me. So I went out of a fear-based mindset that was like, oh no, every single kid needs me in this level that they need me to, and I had to acknowledge my fears, and then I had to be a good investigator, such as, okay, I know that my tick-tock of my clock was, I was done homeschooling. I felt that it wasn't my call anymore. So now I need to become a good investigator of what am I going to do? Where am I going to send the kids? What does this look like? And it freed me up. This devotion showed me that like, he loves these children more than I love them. And that what I thought he was asking me to do was actually not what he was asking me to do.
That's so true.
Put it on myself, like, oh, you must all eat organic and you must all be, I just was burdened. And so I really try to live in the light. I try to feel the light. I try to, but it's got to be fed through prayer. It's got to be fed from just knowing. And I also spent a lot of time looking at the early Christian women as my inspiration, these women from the past. This devotion, what took my heart and changed me was when I realized that the women who put my relatives, their young boys on boats and letting them go off to World War II to serve. My uncle didn't graduate high school. He went off to the military at 17, never got a high school diploma until much, much later when they sent him one. But it was because my great grandmother had this strong devotion to the Sacred Heart, and that she knew that ultimately Jesus would lead and guide and love and care. Yeah. And that's what I want, is that word stability for all Catholic moms, that they, whatever you see with your eyes, what the Lord's revealing is not meant to scare you, but to strengthen you and to give you more trust. And so that's, And yet you can't walk around like this, right? Like
I
parenting
know.
like this is terrible.
Or like this, la la la.
Yeah, like,
Blind-
no, no,
it's
no,
blind,
no, no,
blind,
no, 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 no.
But Emily, you know what? I think that's great because our whole ministry is built on woman of wisdom. It's in Titus 2. The older one will teach the younger woman. And not that you're older, Jane Ann's older, but I'm older. And then you guys are getting older.
Yeah.
We're getting older every day, and better and better. And we have to pass down. We learn. So you did a formation time with the children where you have them formed in the faith, and you're having a Catholic school. Like Jan's done, like you said, many things too. But I think it's very important to know when the Lord's like shutting the door at one place and opening the door somewhere else. I don't like when women decide to push through the door. God says doors closed, they push through. I think I have to close, guys. Last word, Jane Ann. Last word. I think you're making.
Oh, I just want to say I'm so encouraged. I'm really enjoyed this, and I've so glad to have met you and started reading your material because I really like connected. I just really felt encouraged. I don't know, it just was like a water to a thirsty soul. So your mission is accomplished with me because I'm like, wow, I just, I don't know, I'm just really encouraged.
So Emily,
Good.
you want to say last words on how they can get a hold of you so they can call you and buy your book,
Yes.
maybe, and
That's
even
the
actually
dream.
have you speak at their church.
Yes, I'd love to connect with you. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, my YouTube, just Emily Jaminet, and it's easy to do. I'd love to, or emilyjaminet.com. I'd love to serve and talk and chat and see how I can help in your little world. So thank you for having me on. This has been a delightful conversation. Thank you.
God bless you,
Thank
Emily.
you.
A blessing on you and more to come. It's the best
Yes,
to
God
come.
willing.
Thank you once again. And Jane Ann, thank you as always. It was a great show, and I'm gonna have to close
Yes,
off
I
because
love
I think Zoom will pull like the rug out. I don't know. We're due on Zoom, guys. But thank you, Zoom, for the extra minutes. Thank you, Emily. This is Ellen Mongan from Wow Mom. And thank you for joining us. Pass it to a friend. See you soon. I'm shutting it off now, I think. Okay, we zoomed out. Are y'all still there?
Yeah,
I will send you the show,
Hey.
Emily. Do you want to? Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I have.
all your stuff came up on my screen.
Let's do it back.
All your documents.
Oh,
Did
no,
you
come
hit
on.
stop?
Seriously.
Did you hit stop recording?
I did stop recording.
Great.
Should I shut it off and come back, guys? I shut
No,
off.
I think I think they gave you a few more minutes, right? Isn't that what they said?
But they did. We took them when that bell dinged. Are you just my documents, Jane Ann?
Yeah, we can see your document.
Yeah, I see all your documents.
That's funny. I'm gonna shut y'all off then because Pat might. I don't know. I did. That's what I think. I think Zoom zooms in on my stuff. So I told Pat. He goes, no. But I didn't put it on my.
Thank you. I'm so encouraged, and I'm going to also that Sacred Heart. I started that devotion a while back, and then I don't know, but you've so reignited a passion.
Well, it's gonna like.
I thank you.
No, I'm telling you that first Friday devotion and like starting to live
Yeah.
it. Like, it's gonna let you let go of a lot and just.
And that's what I need because I'm so, I can't even tell you how much this has spoken to my heart because I am so right there. When I'm in mass, I hear one thing and I'm like, okay, Lord, is that really you? And then it's like, and then I start, like you were saying, I'm like, oh, okay, well, what am I going to do about this child or this child or this? So I'm like, oh, Lord, I was doing that for like a year and I am really going to get back into that. And I'm going to get your book. I'm really encouraged.
He gave me a powerful experience 2 weeks ago on the treadmill.
That's right.
I always get it when I'm mopping.
I was like,
in the shower.
I was on the treadmill and I was exercising and I was just like thinking about how much I love him and my kind of this devotion and just kind of all the kids and all the stress and
yeah.
I give you my heart. When are you going to give me yours?
Oh,
and
sweet.
Like, that's good. That's
I want
good.
you to hand it over as I hand mine over to you. So every time you look at that image, it's like he gives it to you first. So you have to and it's so hard because I literally I wake up happy and then all these things happen and you're like cranky, and you're like, what happened?
I know. I think I'm at the end of my homeschooling. I don't know, but I kind of was getting that. And I was like, but I'm struggling with, okay, so I'm still got, 5 really. And then one graduates. So I really started off with 6, but I'm like, I'm like, there's so many, but you're right. I have to let go and just, because when I taught at the Catholics,
what is best for my family, like for me to have more silence, I just couldn't live with all the commotion and the kids and all the needs all day, all night. And so now at 3 o'clock, like I'm ready to shift in my mode, if that makes sense. Like it just,
Yes, yes.
I just
Guys,
needed
I
a
will cut off. Can
shift.
you give her your contact or something? Because I think Zoom, it wants us off this thing. And
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you, Ellen, will you just send us an email with all of us on it, and we can.
Sure. And I'll also send you the email
Yeah.
with the show. Okay.
Okay, we'll
I'll
leave
get all your
Ellen. We'll leave.
information.
Stranger, Emily, come back.
Okay.
Anytime. We love having you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, there you are again. What'd I do? Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. See, guys, this is
All
who
right,
I
I'll
am.
hit leave
I
again.
don't know
I'll
this
hit leave
Daniel
again.
thing. Here we go. End, I guess, end meeting for all.